Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave, and behind me I have my Chinese made UHI UME12 mini digger, and I've just spent 3 days digging trenches on the digger, and that gave me a lot of time to think about what I like and what I dislike about this digger. So today I'm going to give you 5 things that I really dislike and 5 things that I really do like. Okay, so let's talk about the bad things or the things that I dislike about this mini digger. And I'm going to rate these on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being the most severe thing that I dislike and 5 being a trivial or menial type thing that I dislike. So at number 5, at the bottom of my bad list, if you like, is what I'll call the fit and finish. So if you have to take panels off this machine to service the engine, for example, it is very hard to get the panels back on and to line all the bolt holes up. They all seem to be just off that much that it makes it really difficult to get the bolts back in the holes. I've struggled with that a few times. I've taken it off. So I'll call that the fit, if you like. For the finish, what I'm talking about there is the paint quality on the machine. Now, if your machine lives outside and it's in the weather and it's in the rain, then you can be pretty well assured that your machine is going to rust very quickly. On my machine, there are a couple of places where the paint has been chipped off it, and as soon as that paint comes off, it seems to rust straight away. So you've got to be quite careful about maintaining that and looking for rust areas. I don't think there's a lot of preparation that's been done on the steelwork under the paint, and I think the quality overall of the paint on the machine is not so great. Okay, number 4 on my bad list is the drive or the travel motors. Anybody that has operated one of these small Chinese mini diggers will know how painfully slow they are to get anywhere. I think the specification sheet says that it's something like 1.9 kilometers an hour. I mean, that's really slow. For me on my property here, it's not such an issue because it's quite small, but if you had to go a long distance in one of these machines, it would be a real problem. The other thing I don't like about the drive motors is their physical location where they're mounted on the back of the machine. And if you have a look at it from behind, you can see that the travel motors don't have a lot of ground clearance between where they are and the ground. And I would think it's probably somewhere around 3 to 4 inches or 75 to 100 mil. It's not a lot of room. And if you're working in very damp soil or mud, it doesn't take much for the machine to sink down and sit on those drive motors, and you will get stuck. Number 3 on my bad list is the dozer blade. And my issue with this is that it seems to be too far back and too close to the front of the tracks. If you look at a lot of diggers that have a dozer blade on them, you'll see that the dozer blade physically is extended a long way from the front of the tracks. The problem I have with this machine is when I'm using this mud bucket, for example, just to pick up and move soil, is you pull the bucket back and you end up with just a mound of material in front of the dozer blade that it doesn't come close enough to the dozer blade. And then you try and move the machine back and do it again, and you just keep moving the mound of dirt back with the machine. If the dozer blade was actually extended by about a foot or 300 mil, I think it would make it a lot easier for the bucket to get in, come back and actually lift it up and not leave so much material on the ground. Okay, number 2 on my bad list is the fuel tank or the diesel tank. And there's 2 things I dislike about this, and that is the location first and the capacity. So let's talk about where it is. On this machine, it's over here behind this panel. And that makes it very hard to get on and off the machine. Really, you can only get off on one side of the machine. So the location isn't that great for the fuel tank. The second thing is the capacity of it. It's only just on or just over 10 litres, which isn't a lot. In the last few days, I've been on this machine for up to 8 hours per day, and I've had to refuel this machine 2 and sometimes 3 times a day. Okay, so my number 1 thing, the one thing that I really dislike about this machine is the access to the engine. Now, if you've looked at my service video on this machine, you will have noticed how much of the paneling, for example, you have to remove just to get access to, say, the oil filter to do an oil change. That's really quite annoying. However, if you're interested in buying a mini digger, then the newer version of this machine, which is called the UME12P, has the swing open door at the back, and you can get right into the engine where the filters are, and it's a lot easier to work on those machines. But on my model, the number one thing I really dislike is how hard it is to get into the engine. Okay, so let's talk about the good things that I really like about this mini digger. So at number 5, I'm going to talk about the boom and the stick. And what I like about that particular item is the quality of the welds on it. If you take a close look at how it's been constructed, the welds are brilliant. I don't know if it was done by humans or a robot, but on a cheap Chinese-made machine, the quality of that boom and pick are really impressive. Number 4 on my good list is the inclusion of a quick hitch. So that makes it a lot easier to swap over buckets when you're on the job. I've seen other videos of people using these cheaper Chinese mini diggers and they don't have the quick hitch, and it's a real battle of pulling out pins and swapping pins over every time you just want to do a bucket change. So the inclusion of a quick hitch on this particular machine is a real positive. So number 3 on my good list are the number of implements and attachments that are included when you actually buy this machine. I think when I bought it, it included 9 attachments. So there were 3 different sizes of buckets. There was a stick rake, there was a log grapple, there was a auger drive and an auger drive motor. So that was included in the purchase price of the machine. And if you would go and add up what it would cost you to go and buy all those additional items, it would be huge. So including all of those in the purchase price of the machine is a real winner. Number 2 on my good list is the engine. So in my mini digger, it uses the Yanmar 3TN V70N, I think it is, engine, a 3-cylinder diesel. It starts easily, it just idles along, it does the job perfectly, and I love it. And that brings us to the number 1 thing that I really like about my Chinese-made mini digger, and that is the price, or I'll call it value for money. If you think about this machine and all of the additional implements and attachments that it comes with, then I certainly think this machine represents good value for money. Now, are they any good? I've had this machine for 18 months and I've done just under 100 hours work with it, and it's been perfect. I haven't had a single issue with this machine. And if you're interested in buying something like this, and I'll put the link in the video description to UHI Machinery here in Australia, and you can check out all the models and the prices on what these machines are costing. So that's my good list and my bad list. You may agree, you may disagree. If you have other comments or suggestions, then please leave them in the video description down below. So that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody supporting the channel and watching the videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.